Hey, good afternoon. It's Friday, June 10th, and I'm here to make another video. It's almost close to evening. I actually have about 4 minutes, but I'm going to be precise. So I hope everyone's having a good start of the weekend. If you have more of an active life and do more than just sit home like a bump on a log like I am, good for you. I have a hard time figuring out what I'm going to do on the weekends. Um, I don't know. I'm still at that point where I feel like, man, my life is yet to be determined. Like, what do you do after you've been like gang stalked? Because it does make a difference, okay? And many targeted individuals who've been through the program of dealing with the social intrusion of your life feel a little reluctant to go out and trust people, okay? And I don't trust people anyway, but you know what I mean, like feel comfortable around people and think that people could be actually decent enough for you to actually share a conversation with them. So and it takes a lot out of you. It really does. But so I was thinking today that sometimes the thought was kind of swirling around my head because I know that people have in the past like really threw some what I consider to be low blows at me. Basically, I think a lot of it was them trying to make me feel bad about some of my life choices. Yesterday I went to my mailbox and I got a letter. It was just a handwritten letter, and it was written from with a PO box. And something told me not to open it, and it wasn't addressed to my name. It was basically neighbor, and then it had my address on it. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and open this. Right now, I remember back when I was a kid, and I remember we were like taught not to open letters that we didn't know, because apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody had this story circulating about a person who opened a letter and had a letter bomb in it. Now, the chances of that actually happening was like really, really rare. But it was something that like made me think. And then also when I was growing up, we had this issue about people circulating chain letters, right? So we didn't want to do that. So anyway, and getting a regular piece of mail, that's especially a handwritten letter, is very rare these days. So I opened it up, and it was a letter from an anonymous person who was basically giving me the same spiel that a Jehovah's Witness would give me if they were to knock at my door. Now, I'm sure the Jehovah's Witnesses are now resorting to sending letters to people's homes instead of going door to door. It could have something to do with what happened with COVID. Now that they're, of course, the social distancing has gotten better. People are kind of walking around more without masks and doing stuff, and not so reluctant to go out. I mean, and have and stand in line next to somebody and get in conversations. People are kind of breaking away from that a little bit more, but still, I got a letter from a Jehovah's Witness with a little watchtower and tract pamphlet attached to it. And I immediately grew ill, and I threw it in the trash, okay? I don't know, because you never know, okay? Sometimes, and I don't know, I could know. I could go in my room, turn out the lights, just really blank out my mind and focus as to who really sent that letter. And I choose not to do that. You know why? Because I'm tired of focusing on the already traumatizing issues of what happened. The people who got involved in this, and I'm referring to my son's biological father, whose family just so happens to be Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever. Some people want to keep the argument going, and I'm not saying that this is what their intention was or that they're even behind this. It could just be they might have sent that letter to everyone in my apartment complex, but I personally didn't want to see it. I don't want to hear any more things. That goes for any religion, okay? I am content in my life and how I view things. I believe in it very strongly. As a matter of fact, there's certain times I get certain thoughts, and I actually get goosebumps because what I believe and what I think that comes through my mind is very inspirational and inspiring. Hang on a sec. I meant to say inspiring, not inspirational and inspiring. 1 minute, please. sorry about that. I do ramble a lot when I talk because, and I also realize that, I do this because I'm not a deep communicator. Everyone usually says that they like the way that I write, but I don't really speak very much. And many times when I do talk, I have a conflict going on in my mind as I'm speaking, because there's a part of me that wants to be more like relaxed and just basically say things more in a straightforward way, and I know that it can be very abrasive. Now, mind you, I am not aggressive. I think when people use that word aggressive about me, I take it as a racial stereotype, and I'm like, no, I'm not. There's nothing about me that's great aggressive, but I will say that I'm more assertive. Like, I want to get to the point. Like, I don't want to just like drag on things, like just tell me whatever. So, but anyway, I kind of go off on these little tangents and stuff. But yeah, I go, and then other things that go on in my mind as I'm talking and having a conversation with people is like a bunch of other interrelated topics that connect to what we're talking about, and then I could end up boring a person or extending a conversation longer than I intended to, because it could turn interesting, it could not be. But I have a hard time knowing what to say. Am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? You know what I mean? So yeah, I've always been kind of awkward that way, So anyway, back to my contentment with where I am spiritually. And then sometimes people in general, not just about religion, this could be about any life choice. Some people want to keep an argument going. And like I said, I have no idea if this person who sent me the letter is actually somebody who really believes that Armageddon is coming, and that they're warning me of being destroyed at Armageddon because they're going to deem me wicked or whatever. I don't believe I'm wicked, but but whatever the case is, I'm happy with the way that I look at things. I left that way of thinking a long time ago, and like I said, and I will say it again, I was never a Jehovah's Witness. I studied with Jehovah's Witnesses for many, 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 many years. And so, and there's always going to be conflict and disagreements on certain things. And I'm going to say this to any religious person, okay? You have the right to believe whatever you want to believe. There's nothing wrong with Hey, if you believe that a leaf that fell off a branch of the tree is your form of God and you worship it, that may be strange to me, and it does seem strange to me, but by the law, by the laws here in this country, you have every right to do that. And then of course there's always going to be people who are going to have a problem with that. And the best way to do it is you just have to stay within the guidelines of the law. Some people think, well, my religion is if God was let's just say, for example, my ex-husband's family thought that they were divinely inspired by thinking that they should force me their will on me. Well, the way I look at it, and I mean based on the law, as even scripture, that is not the right approach, because the thing is that you're supposed to worship God lovingly and willingly. That's the whole purpose of the Bible, and the whole supposedly the whole issue of when God would test people in the Bible to see if they were faithful or whatever. Not because you're going to get things from God or you're fearing something from Him, but you do it because you appreciate the spiritual connection. So no, I mean, religion to me is something that I've read it when I was younger. I had a huge interest in it because I was exploring and I wanted to know what, if there really was, a God or whatever. And so I did study with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I studied with other religious ideas and the history, mainly, of Jehovah's Witnesses, and of course the history of other religions. And I've made my choice. You know what I mean? And I know that people may not like the way that I live my life, especially anyone who comes from a traditional background or whatever. You're going to deal with persecution in this life. And I do think that from the average person's perspective, they would not know how to classify someone like me, because I do live a very independent type life. And I've been told that since I was a kid. Like, people say, I don't know exactly what to think of you. Like, you are very different. because I am a black woman, and yet I don't speak with a certain dialect, okay, that people are used to. But I've known several black people who don't speak with a certain dialect, okay, but there's a lot of people who do, but I don't. I tend to be different than most women. I don't have the same ideas as women. I promote, or not really promote anything, but I have different views on certain things. Like, when it comes to raising families and stuff, I don't think that everybody should, to where some people, they feel a lot of pressure from society. A lot of people let what society dictates, they let society dictate what they are going to do in their life. And I believe in avoiding the majority's thought, because I think that, based on my observation, I think a lot of people are very misguided. Okay, and some people, just because they're argumentative, will say, "Well, oh, you're so misguided. So what are you, Maria? Are you somebody like who knows everything?" I don't claim to know everything, but I know what makes me comfortable and what's good enough for me, and it's good enough for me. So I do. I mean, and I think that some people might think that I know my mother had made a few remarks about me, and and other women that who believe that you should care for yourself even when you get into the older years. I grew up with a mother who was extremely overweight and very unhappy, and I remember looking at pictures of her when she was younger, when my dad was dating her and everything, and I would think, my goodness, she was such a beautiful woman. My mother was a beautiful woman. But I think my mother dealt with a lot of disappointments, which I see a lot of women who have lived a similar life to my mother, even though well, you know what I mean. What I mean by that is, like, they themselves may have had hopes and dreams of marrying their Prince Charming and having children, and having children and a little family and the picket fence, and all this stuff that people look forward to, but they have a lot of unrealistic expectations, and sometimes, sadly, I think I've mentioned this in another of my video, I know a lot of women who basically started building their hopes and dreams based off of things that really weren't concrete. Like, we would watch episodes of certain TV shows, right? And we'd see how the dynamic in their families were, okay? And you can think of any family show that you watched as a kid, that whether that be the Brady Bunch, the Cosby Family, whatever, just these goody two-shoes people who always have it good, and it always ends with people solving problems like in less than 30 minutes with the commercial breaks and all this other bullshit, right? Like, life is great, and for some reason you look at your family and you compare them. You're like, well, look how Carol is to her children. She's so loving the way she speaks to them. My mom is so flawed and everything. And you as you get older, you realize, like, there are very few families like the Brady Bunch. As a matter of fact, most people live in a very dysfunctional families. Some families get along well, but everybody has a problem. Like, nobody's perfect, But I think my mom was a very unhappy person, and I also think that she was one of those people who became like jealous or envious of women who bettered themselves, and I see this trait in a lot of women. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this, because this is something that kind of crosses my mind every once in a while, not all the time, but I'm just because basing it off my mother, and also basing it off of conversations that I've had with other women, and also conversations that I've overheard with other women. And I know that women are just absolutely terrible when it comes to dealing or feeling competitive and wanting to literally destroy other women because they feel like that person might be a threat to them. And it's funny because I when I think of somebody being a threat, I think of I guess I'm not like that, because unless, of course, if maybe if I was with somebody and somebody was trying to be with that person, with that guy or whatever, or she was remarkably beautiful, and then I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? If she was coming on to him trying to take somebody that I was with, maybe, but just by looking at somebody and rolling their eyes. Like, I used to know this one girl, and I would go places with her, and she was like very, very skinny. Okay. And I mean, skinny, not like thin, but I mean like skinny. And there's a lot of women who covet that. They would want nothing more in their life than to be able to wear a certain size pant or whatever. And the minute they see this person, they'll roll their eyes. She's a bitch. Or I remember hearing about these women in like the workplace, and they'll say stupid shit like, "Well, we know how she got there. She got there on her back." You know, when that's not the case. Women can be very, very cutthroat, jealous, and competitive, and a lot of targeted individuals have said that when people get targeted, the first thing that targeted individual women have to deal with are usually people who are trying to either put down their looks, or trying to be, they want to destroy your looks. Is often what women get targeted for, because a lot of women can get jealous over that issue, and it is because when I think about it, I don't think people have to be fashion models to have a good life, but I do believe that most women, whether they verbalize this or not, have a desire to be better looking. Now, do I think that I'm beautiful? No. I'm very much aware of my flaws, okay? And I don't think I just love clothes. I do. And I don't do it because I try to get male attention, but a lot of women do. And if women do dress up to get male attention, are they at fault? No, because women have it in them to produce and want to be attractive so that they can attract mates. This is a biological thing, okay? So no, I don't. Is there anything to be ashamed of if a woman chooses to be appealing to the opposite sex? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, mind you, I think that they were accusing me of doing that because they were trying to make me look like I was an adulteress of some marriage that I wasn't even involved in. But I don't see anything wrong with a woman who wants to find a sexual partner making herself available in that way if she chooses to do so. Now, there's a difference between, like I said before, and I'll say it again, there's a difference between dressing provocatively, like, you're wearing low-cut blouses and you're, being a little bit flirtatious, okay? And there's a difference between, wearing a nice outfit. I think I'm somebody who tries to wear nice outfits, okay? But do I support women who choose to live promiscuous lives? If they are highly sexually driven, is it wrong for them to be that way? Why do people put down women who they think are being sexually active? They'll call them a slut, they'll call them whatever. To me, if this is what you desire to do and you go out for it and you go and you strive to get laid or whatever you want to call it, this is what they want to do, then that's what they want to do. And I don't believe that there's anything to be ashamed of, but what a lot of women are really saying is they wish they were somebody who was able to go out and attract whatever sex partner that they wanted. Because there's really nothing to be ashamed about for somebody who is doing that. There is absolutely nothing to be ashamed about if this is what your aim is, this is what your drive is, this is what you're thinking. Because we are meant to have sex, right? Now, so some people say, well, what about you, Marie? You don't like sex? No, I don't really. I think it's overrated. Really, I do. I think it's extremely overrated. I just like the color contrast. I do. I like having like reddish lipstick. I love lipstick. There used to be like this purplish color that I used to love. I like makeup. I do. I love it. It matches my clothes. Okay, I've never really been like crazy about wigs and stuff like that, but it makes styling your hair a lot easier, especially if you're a black woman. I like clothes and that stuff. Now, if would I be ashamed of myself if I said, what, I'm lonely and I want someone in my life? I would not feel one bit ashamed of saying, I'm lonely and I want someone in my life. There is nothing to be ashamed of saying that. There's nothing shameful for anyone to do anything like that. But no, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because I like being single. You know what I mean? I'm an open-minded person, and I'm accepting people however they are. I understand that everybody has they go through different journeys, and they have different ideas, and they have different levels in their life. And some people are more like me. I'm more of an intellectual person. I prefer to be intellectually stimulated, read about certain things, read about different cultures, read about meditation. I meditate all the time. You know what I mean? I like getting spiritual revelations. I like this sort of stuff. Like I said, I get chills when I think of certain things. So I'm more of a mental person, okay? But there are people who are sexual creatures. And I always think when I hear women complaining about who's pretty and talking about somebody pretty, and I'm like, you are such a fucking jealous bitch. Shut your goddamn mouth. And you know good and well. If they don't realize it by now, they need to know that they only sound like jealous bitches. There is nothing good about telling somebody who takes care of themselves to put on weight. No, nobody would do that. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? There is nothing good about somebody saying, "Oh, will you stop wearing nice clothes? What, you're gonna wear jeans and sweats all the time?" It's a form of jealousy. What happened to me, people were jealous of me. And I think that's funny because, like I said, I think of myself as just kind of like, you know what I mean? I don't think of myself as a big deal. I really don't. Because I know my flaws. I have really crooked teeth, and I do. I wear fake hair. My hair breaks out a lot. I have patches on my skin. I have discolored skin right here. I have flaws, okay? So I don't really think of myself that way. But I think that pretty much the people who got behind this must think I'm like drop dead gorgeous just by the way they acted. You know what I mean? I am content with the way that I look, though. I like the way that I look. Do I think I'm beautiful? No. I think I'm pleasant looking. Like I have a nice little demeanor and I do like myself. I remember when I do like myself. That's like, ooh, I know that my perps are saying, what a bitch. She likes herself. You damn right I like myself. You don't like yourself. That's why you were attacking me. I do like myself. You know what I mean? I like the way that I see things. I like the way that I believe. I like my everyday life. I'm happy with whatever, I'm happy and content, with who I am. You know what I mean? But I do know that, I grew up with a mother who was very jealous and unhappy with who she was. And I know, and I remember her saying things about women who cared about themselves, and I'm not trying to bash women. I think my mother had a lot of disappointments, because a lot of women don't understand is that there is nothing they can do to stop their husband's eye from looking at other women. And my father was like, he was a man. I mean and as I got older, I realized, I don't know, maybe my mother was extremely naive when she got married to my dad, because my mom, I think my dad was like the only man that my mother was with. Okay, so it was like, she probably thought that when you fall in love, this is a very silly thought, but a lot of people think this. When you fall in love, they fall in love with you, and that they don't stray. They love you, and they can't possibly love someone else. And like things like adultery and stuff like that was like so rare in their mind. It's not rare. It happens a lot, And so a lot of women get upset, and have unrealistic expectations as to what, how men can feel about them, or what they could feel, what they don't feel, or whatever. And so my mother was extremely disappointed in her life, you know what I mean? But what else could she do? She had to stay there and put up with her husband all the time because my mother really didn't have the ability to take care of herself and us children. You know what I mean? So a lot of women just they're in a very sad spot in life, you know, and they become disappointed, and then they see somebody who takes care of themselves and they want to beat up on that person. You know what I mean? But you know, the thing is, there's nothing you can do. You can look like Halle Berry, which I think is very beautiful. You know, you can be like a supermodel, and men are still going to want to be with other women. That's just a part of their biological makeup. You know what I mean? It's nothing. That's just who they are. You know what I mean? So I think if people are going to strive for beauty or try to improve themselves, they really need to do it for themselves. Because it's not about, for me, it's not about male attention. It's about waking up in the morning and liking who I am on the inside as well as the outside. Now, I remember when I was growing up, I'm kind of veering off on conversations because I'm chatty. But anyway, you know, when I was little, I remember watching a few TV shows. Now, we all know that TV is bullshit. It is total bullshit. There's nothing on TV that is realistic. There is nothing on TV that we should model our lives after, except there are certain things that do give you a little bit of inspiration. Now, I will tell you, when I was growing up, I used to watch a few shows for clothes only, okay? Just because I liked the clothes on them, okay? And some of the shows that I was watching as I was growing up were in syndication by the time I was watching them. Like, for example, a lot of the 60s shows, okay? I think that show, That Girl, was made like in either the mid 60s or the late 60s, okay? I used to watch that show with Marlo Thomas, right? I didn't like so much the dialogue. It was kind of boring, but I loved her clothes. I loved her clothes. And I remember thinking, now, I want to be like that. I want to be one of these people and I who always have a nice outfit to wear for whatever occasion. Even if she's going to the grocery store, she had her little tie on her neck and she was like all spruce. And I know that most people don't dress like that on the everyday, okay? But if you like clothes, which is what I do, because I grew up watching TV shows, watching, you know, all kinds of shows, and women in certain clothing pieces. Like, you know, I used to watch people in like little halter tops or mini skirts or long bell-bottom pants. I watched old movies like with Joan Crawford in them, and I would see like her shoulder pads and the waist, belted waist dresses that she would wear and stuff. So I've watched and looked at clothes all my life. So I like clothes. You know what I mean? And so when I used to watch shows like That Girl, I would think, I want to be the kind of person who has nice clothes every day. That's me. You know? That doesn't mean it's everybody, but that's me. So some people might think, well, you know, Maria, you're superficial because those are the only things you care about. And this is how I look at it. When in a world that has shown me that all they care about is themselves, in a world that has shown me that that they would rather you never achieve anything in this life, I'm going to say that I am more focused on myself, and I think that this is the only thing a person should be focused on. Unless, of course, I love someone. Now, I love my son, so I care about his well-being. I care about his feelings. I care about how he feels. I care about those things, right? But I'm not going to sacrifice myself for anybody I love. And anybody who loves me would never ask me to sacrifice, because I don't believe in sacrifice. You know what I mean? And I think some people's like religion, dictates that they, make sacrifices. That's your religion. You make those choices. Okay. But I don't believe that way. I live in my world, my viewpoints in life are very life oriented, and meaning like to, partake and enjoy as much as you possibly can in the things that you enjoy, instead of like certain religions, like for example Jehovah's Witnesses. I felt like that was not something I wanted to be. I remember it started becoming very clear in my 9th grade year, okay, because in my 9th grade year I was really I was studying with them for by that time I think I was studying with them for a little over a year at that time, okay? But what I didn't like about it was their drive, their need to basically squash out any form of independence in a person, or any sort of interest that you have. They wanted to squash it out. Like, I remember there were certain songs that you would like, bands that you would like, they would tell you why you shouldn't. They used to think that if you put a poster of maybe like a rock group on your bedroom window, your bedroom wall or whatever, they looked at that as idol worship, so you couldn't do it. You know what I mean? I thought, oh God, man, these people are fucking killing me. And everything to Jehovah's Witnesses, and it, you know, I can understand the fact that they relate some of their views to the Bible, okay? But I also see where they use a lot of the Bible as an excuse to bully or abuse people. You know what I mean? Whatever the case is, it's not something I want. You know what I mean? I kept thinking, I don't know. I didn't agree with it, but I was interested in hearing their viewpoints. I did agree to a certain viewpoint. Like when I first started studying with them, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I read a lot of their publications, and I saw how they kind of interacted with one another. And, you know, as an adult, no, I don't want that. And I do have I do understand that, you know, like my son's father's family or whatever, you know, they're very, to me, I don't know. I was thinking about how ignorant they really were and how I don't think they really know much about the religion, but I don't want to go into it. You know, I'm tired of bringing these people up in general, but I'm just basically coming on here to tell people that, you know, you can't make me feel guilty about my life choices. And anytime you hear somebody talking about, oh, so-and-so, you know, she's wearing that dress, or she's doing this, and they roll their eyes and stuff, you know where that comes from. You know what I mean? I don't, and I'm not, I don't let people stop me from pursuing the things that I enjoy. I personally think if people enjoy things, that they should, you know, whether that be, if you're like my age and you used to play softball, why give up softball? You know what I mean? And you're thinking, well, I'm 51 years old, I can't get out there. I'm thinking, yeah, you know, there's women out there who grew up kind of, you know, playing softball or other forms of sports, and they feel that way too. And then maybe you should network with them and get together and form a softball team. Why do women, people my age, let themselves get sucked up into this idea that there's just nothing left? You know, I will say, on the outside world, do I believe there's anything left for me? And I really don't think so. Like, I've lost interest in people. Like, I keep thinking, when is that person interest, really any point of getting to know that person? I'm like, I don't really know. I don't care. I wouldn't put it just only because I've seen such bullshit in people for such a long time. So I can't really say that outside stimulation is there. But I don't think that just because you're a certain age that you should cut your life short. You know what I mean? And I don't believe, and I know that society only pressures people to do things because they're jealous. And you just have to be a strong person and say, you know what, this is what I want. You know, and this is where people fail all the time, because they tend to give in to the societal pressure. And when you give into that societal pressure, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to make them like you anymore. They're glad that you gave up something that was very precious, very dear, and important to you, so that they can be satisfied, because they didn't want you to be happy in the first place. See, I fucking hate all the people that got involved in my targeting. That's one of the reasons why I have so much nightmares about them, because it's like they knew my career choices were important to me. And then they wanted to come in with their bullshit, knowing good and well they were of no help to me whatsoever. And like I said, I don't want to go into these people, really. But, yeah, I mean, this is my life. I couldn't imagine living like a Jehovah's Witness. I really couldn't. I can't, you know. And I really can't imagine being anything other than myself. You know, and doing the things that I want to do at the time that I feel like doing it. Now, I think for some people who've been raised around Jehovah's Witnesses, just the way that I'm talking about the I me making decisions for myself, they've been indoctrinated to not like that, because they believe in being there. Some religions keep their members submissive and ignorant. Like, I was thinking about how Jehovah's Witnesses are prevented from studying any resource documents that are based on the religion or about their religion. They don't know the history of the Watchtower and Tract Society. If they do know anything about the Watchtower and Tract Society, that information was relayed to them by the Watchtower and Tract Society. It's not like they could, read a book and develop any sort of critical thinking skills or determine whether they want to follow that or not. They are prevented from doing that. They could get disfellowship from doing that. Jehovah's Witnesses have their practices and their beliefs, and I don't, I don't want to be a part of that, and what I saw in my situation was extremely hypocritical, and I've lost a lot of faith in people, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but just people in general. I realize that most people don't have any strong convictions. They are very deceptive, jealous, cunning, whatever, and I have been thinking about, the people that were in my life, my targeting, including my own blood relations. It's like, I don't have any emotional feeling about this issue. When I first realized, like, my blood relations were fucking my shit up, that bothered me. It did, because, I just can't imagine somebody who would want to sabotage anyone's life, But after a while, it sunk in, and it was like, it was okay. Then I realized that they had something to do with Bruce's family. Then that was like, oh my God. Now I felt really, really sick to my stomach, because, you say things and you expect people to respect what you say, or know or believe what you're saying. Like, why would they think that I would want to be with Bruce and then or anybody and try to force me into marriage? Like, I know some people cherish their marriages. I can't imagine me cherishing a marriage. I can't. You know what I mean? And yeah, I was married at one time, and did I care about my husband? Yeah, at the time I did care about him. Okay, but I can never say that we lived a traditional married life. I was not like that. I was always more like, I never wanted to give him the idea that I was going to cook his food. And there's nothing wrong with women who do want families and want to have marriages and all that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was on my own for too long to want that. You know what I mean? So no. If I wanted to be a sexual person, then I would just go out and have a sexual relationship, and then I would come home. And some people would be looking at me like, gosh, Marie, you say things that are kind of like, I can't believe you're saying that. Well, number one, I have every right to say that. And the law supports my decision for doing that. You know what I mean? I believe in doing whatever I want to do as long as it's not hurting anybody. That's what I would do. I don't like the idea of marriage. For me. You know what I mean? I know marriage is some people think highly of marriage, I guess, but I don't. You know what I mean? And I know that people probably talk and say, oh, is Maria going to be with somebody? I wish other people would just stop being focused on my love life. You know what I mean? I've been like diverted from, things that I wanted to do in my life, and I've been prevented from finding the kind of people in my life that I wanted to find in my life. I was always around their people and whatever. So anyway, no, I'm not superficial. I just want to live the best life that I possibly can, and I want to avoid jealous, competitive, unhappy people. And if you are one of those women who like to cut down other women who care about themselves, then you're only sounding like a jealous bitch, is basically what you are. And that's all you are. Because there's really no shame in saying, hey, you know what? I like these things. There is absolutely no shame in it whatsoever. I'm not ashamed to be 50 years old and look like this. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not. And if somebody would try to make me feel ashamed of it, I would look at them like, you're retarded. Because I think there's a lot of women who try to get Botox, a lot of women get facelifts, a lot of people do all kinds of stuff so that they can feel a certain way. You know what I mean? And so having the dark skin is very helpful because it keeps you from cracking too much, getting a lot of wrinkles, you know, although I do have some wrinkles and stuff. But anyway, I'm not going to go on and on and on and on. I think I said enough. I am very, very tired, and I am looking forward to just kind of like, you know, doing some work a little bit this weekend, but just kind of also spending a little time to myself and cleaning my house. I'm actually excited about vacuuming my living room. Okay. I'm becoming a homebody, you know, and I like it. I do. I like it that way. So anyway, I'm going to get off here, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back with another one soon. Take care. Bye-bye.